So once again, dear colleagues, welcome very much to our webinar series. Today is our third webinar series on international opportunities for registered nurses, and we are putting our focus on Kenyan registered nurses. We began these webinars 3 weeks ago. We are doing our third week today. And on our first week, we were speaking generally on the global opportunities which are available for nurses. On the second week, we talked on the UK's EMBA listing and what it means for the affected countries. Kindly please, if you missed the previous webinars, you can check on our YouTube channel for passcode, or after this meeting, you can as well inbox me or ask in the chat box. I'll post the links for the previous meetings in the chat box so that you can also be at par. Today, we are discussing on the process of getting registration as a nurse in the United States of America. And with us, we have Nurse Angeline, who is a registered nurse in the US. And also we also have Nurse Humphrey, who is a registered nurse in Kenya, and also a registered nurse in USA. These webinars have been organized with three parties. That is, it's being sponsored by Passcode Global Consultants in partnership with Registered Nurses Connect. This is a platform that we have for nurses on Instagram, and also with Kenya Student and Novice Nurses, which is a chapter that covers young nurses in Kenya, or represents young nurses in Kenya as an association. And so for today's meeting, allow me to introduce the people behind this webinar to greet us. After greeting us, then we'll have our first presentation. I'll begin with Maggie Wairima, who is the lead convener. Maggie, if you are there, can you please unmute and greet the meeting?
Hi guys, I hope today you can see me. My name is Wairima Maina. I'm the convener for Registered Nurses Connect, and I'd really like to thank people for coming to this webinar. This is our third webinar, and I think we are doing good as matters of the audience we are getting. And I hope this is for the greater good for all the nurses. So thank you, Don.
I always love the statement you always put that this year we decided we are going to go big and to go together.
Yes, we are not leaving anyone behind.
Thank you very much, Maggie. Always inspiring meeting with you and being in these sessions with you. Then we have Nurse Humphrey Nkonge, who is the CEO for Global Passcode Consultants. Karibu sana, Sir Humphrey.
Hi, everyone. My name is Humphrey Nkonge. I am a nurse, registered nurse myself, and I'm happy that you guys have heeded the call. As we were planning this webinar, we thought about information and the power of information. And the main aim of this webinar series is to share information with everyone as brothers and as sisters. And that's the main aim. Information is power, and we really need to share it. And I want to thank also the people whom we have been inviting in these meetings. We are not paying them. They are giving information for free because they also share the dream with us that every Kenyan nurse should be informed and should be empowered with information. That if you want to make a decision whether to go practice abroad, or you want to make a decision to remain and practice in Kenya, you need to be informed. So I want to thank everyone, and I hope that by the end of this session, we are going to learn from each other. Those of us who are speaking here, it doesn't mean that we have, we are more knowledgeable than the others, but we are sharing information. And as I said in the last webinar, if you feel that you can share something, you will be given a chance also. So I'm very expectant today, and I believe that we are going to learn.
So we are going to begin our meeting for today. Sorry for that little hitch. Our first speaker for the day will be Angeline Kemunto. Angeline Kemunto is a nurse. She has been a nurse for the last 5 years before moving to from KNH to the United States of America. And we are glad. Kindly please, the people who have joined in, and probably you don't meet the core specifications for this meeting, will kindly request that you allow us to go on. Kindly, thank you. So kindly please, Angeline, you can come in and begin sharing with us on the process of preparing to transit from Kenya to the USA. What do you require? What are the cost implications? What is the implication of the whole process moving from?
Good evening, everyone. I hope you had a good day. The US journey as a nurse requires like a nurse to have 2 years of experience, and then you'll be working as a bedside nurse in a hospital with a bed capacity 200 and above, and you'll be working like full time at the bedside, like you're not in the managerial role. Like you are hands-on in the nursing care of patients. Then you have 2 ways about it. You can do it on your own by registering for the National Licensing Council exam for the US, the NCLEX. You can do it on your own, pass it through a board of nursing in one of the states in the US. Then you can be recruited by an agency for immigration purposes. Then they will process your visa and papers to come to the US. Another way is to get recruited to the agency from the word go without having the NCLEX. Then they will enroll you into a program to train you to prepare for NCLEX. Then they will also process your immigration process. It takes about like 1 year, but due to COVID, there was a lot of backlog, so it took me 3 years. Some people too, it took them 2 years, 4 years, but minimum it takes about 1 year. Financial implications, yes, you'll spend because the documents have to be verified for you to be allowed to test for the licensing exam for the US, and that costs money. Like you go to the Nursing Council of Kenya, they verify your license, they will need money. Then you send your documents to the US, to the CGFNS, the commission that verifies the foreign nurses documents. The parcel that you send also costs money. You may also need to verify your transcripts from your college, maybe KMTC or the university. That costs money. So the process costs money at each and every step of the way, but you're not going to pay all the money at once. You do it step by step. For example, you pay for verification of your documents. After that, it depends on the agency. You may start with the English exam or do it later after passing the NCLEX. Bearing in mind the exam expires after 2 years. The exam is also paid for. It was about 20,000 or something back then. So yes, the process requires money, and then you need mentors, people that have gone ahead to guide you each and every step of the way, because it's not an easy process, but it's worth it.
Thank you very much, Angelina. And that's probably there's somebody inside the meeting who is asking, okay, fine. Now you've told us in a nutshell what I need to do, or maybe in a nutshell the cost implication. Would you mind taking us probably through your own journey?
All right. Thank you for the opportunity. Yes, I started my journey back in 2019, and I started with an agency. Yes, I did all the processes with the agency. It requires a lot of patience because you're communicating online. Sometimes there are delays, but if you know what you're targeting, then you keep walking each step of the way. And it cost me quite some amount. It's only good because I was not asked to produce that amount all at once. So if I had to send a parcel to the US through DHL, it's 4,000 shillings. When I went for verification of my license at Nursing Council, it's 12,000. When, for example, when I studied for NCLEX, I don't remember the exact figure, but it's close to 20,000. And then I had to travel to India to New Delhi in India to do my NCLEX. Yes, the agency paid for the hotel that I was in for 3 days, but the food and my personal effect, I had to purchase them. And so I had to carry with me about 15,000 shillings. And then on transitioning to the US in the last year in October, yeah, the agency paid for my flight, but I needed to get money to be using during the transition period when I'm not like working and getting paid. And then after arriving at my place of work, I had to rent a house, buy the house items, the seats and kitchen items to get ready for work that required about 500,000 Kenyan shillings. But as soon as I started working, then yeah, we are able to cope because from the amount we paid, we are able now to pay the bills. But through the process, I can say you may use roughly 1 million Kenyan shillings, but not all at once. You are paying for items like each step of the way. For example, when you put in your case, you're supposed to pay for your green card. That's about 34,500 per person. So if you're filing for a family of 5, then it means it's 34,500 times 5. And if you're coming to the US with your family, even if you're working with an agency, the agency will pay for your flight, but for your family, you pay for it. So per person, it was costing about 90,000 Kenyan shillings. So yes, you spend a lot of money, but once you get your, you start getting your paycheck in the hospital in the US, then you realize, yes, you made a good decision. So I would encourage those that dream of working in the US to take the first step. Either save some amount, revise for NCLEX, revise for IELTS, and do them on your own. Because if the agency is doing everything, remember you're going to pay them back all that amount. So if you do some things for yourself, then you save yourself the time that you are bonded with the agency. So you are bonded for lesser time, and therefore they deduct lesser amount from you. If the agency does everything for you from the word go, then you're bonded for a lot of hours. For me, I'm bonded for about 6,000 hours with them. And so they deduct for all that time. Yeah, it's a long, tedious process that is, and due to COVID, it became like an impossibility, but it happens. And if you are in the waiting list, that does not mean you have been denied. So you hang in there, and then finally you get to relocate. And then the good thing is, if you're coming with your family, all of you get green cards, you get permanent resident cards as soon as you land in the US. And so that means you can work, your family can work, and you, after 5 years, you can register for your citizenship as a US citizen. So it depends on the why. There are many challenges along the way, and even settling down in the US is not easy. Remember our accent and our culture, and everything is different. You have to accept to be different in a new area and learn how they live so that you be able to take care of the clients here. So yes, there are challenges, but overall it's worth it working here. Because if I compare the salary that I was earning in my previous employment, it's 10 times the salary I earn now. So yes, it's hard, it's a long process, but the rewards are good.
Okay, thank you very much, Nas Angeline, and for sharing with us your journey in doing the NCLEX exam, and also your journey in terms of cost implications. We are really glad to have you with us. At this point, I'd like to allow Nas Humphrey to come in and make a few comments or a few presentation. Meanwhile, if you have any question to Nas Angeline with regards to your preparation to registration to the to be a nurse in the United States of America, kindly please post them in the chat section. We'll be able to read them out later during the Q&A. Now, Humphrey is going to present to us how Passcode Global Consultants prepares nurses for NCLEX exams, which is the licensure exam that you need to do before you get registered as a nurse in the US. So, karibu sana Nurse Humphrey.
Okay, thank you, Donald, for giving me this opportunity. First of all, I would like to start by giving a simple, maybe a summarized kind of process from my side. And first, in our first webinar, that is 2 weeks ago, we talked about 3 pathways that a nurse in a country like Kenya can use, or a nurse who has trained outside the USA can use to get registered in the USA. So we talked about 3 pathways. And Angeline has mentioned some of those pathways. Simply, the pathways were: 1 is when you start with an agency from the word go. The agency assists you to do the NCLEX process. Then they help you with the immigration and you land into the USA. That was the first pathway. The second pathway is when you do the NCLEX process by yourself. Then after you pass the NCLEX, you join an agency, and the agency helps you with the immigration. That was the second pathway. That pathway is whereby you go to the USA as a student. Maybe you want to go do RN-BSN program or a master's program if you already have done your BSN. And then you complete the NCLEX process while you are in the USA. So both of the pathways, all the 3 pathways have their advantages and disadvantages, and they are different in the way they are done. So having gone through the process myself, I agree with everything that Angeline has said. I had a small presentation, which I'm going to just present to us. Today, I'm not sharing the presentation. If I can just summarize the requirements, in addition to what Angeline talked about, of course, you need to be a registered nurse in your country, because your registration will be verified by a body called the CGFNS. And practicing experience, 1 year, 2 years, or such, those are regulations of agencies. Sometimes if you are registering by yourself in the self-sponsored program, the limitation for experience may not really apply. Passing the NCLEX exam is a must for you to become a registered nurse in the US. In fact, that is the baseline. That is what determines whether you become a registered nurse in the US. In fact, the moment you just pass your exam, you just become registered immediately. You can pass your exam today, and in a few hours, you will be registered as a nurse in the US and you get your license online. Getting a sponsor or an employer is very important in the process, because the employer or the sponsor is the one that will enable you to get a visa. That is an employment-based visa that, like the one Angeline was talking about, one that allows you to go to the US with your family. And when we talk about your family, we are talking about your spouse and your children who are the age of 21 years. The other thing, of course, is that you have to meet the immigration requirements, but of course, in this process, you'll be assisted a lot by your sponsor. So if I can summarize the process step by step, I could say that step 1 involves the following. In step 1, you need to seek information. And in seeking information, you need to seek the right information. Today is the age of information. There's a lot of information that is available in the internet. Sometimes when you want to seek information, you may go to various sites, or maybe you go to YouTube, listen to different videos, and sometimes you can get some conflicting information or information that may not help you a lot. So when you seek information, maybe from people like Angeline who are already in the US, it can help you a lot, and you get the right information. If you get information from 2 people and compare what you get, it's also important, because at the end of the day, you'll be able to make an informed decision. So when you get the information, of course, you're going to digest the information, analyze your situation, analyze your preferences, look at the money you're earning in Kenya, look at the spouse, if you're married, you look at the spouse you have, your children, and ask yourself, is it in the best interest for me to move or to migrate? And this is a very important question because some people do not ask themselves this question. Is it, should I migrate or should I stay in Kenya? Because sometimes you may find that someone has a pressure, maybe because their friends or their fellow colleagues have migrated, and maybe the situations are different or the contexts are different. So what I advise people in making a decision, it is important to involve the people who matter to you. If you are married, for example, you cannot make this decision by yourself. You have to involve your family because sometimes you find that the US process can take a long time. Like during the COVID-19 period, of course, we are still continuing the period, there has been a lot of delays with doing the exam, with immigration. And if you don't have the support of the people that matter, then the process can be a bit tiring. So I usually advise people to speak with the people that matter. But of course, you will have to make a decision if judging by yourself, because no one knows your family better than you. There are some who would like to tell their extended family, the others who would like to keep the information by themselves. So this is a very critical point because I have seen people making a mistake of just announcing that they are moving, and then the process hits a few roadblocks. Then other people whom you told that you're moving may start discouraging you, backbiting you, and such and such. So that's why some people prefer to keep it a secret, and it's their choice depending on their situations. So now, after discussing with the people that matter, then you start the process, and you also think about the costs. And the cost here depends with various factors. But of course, when you decide that you want to start the process, after getting the information in step 1, you move to step 2. Step 2, when you decide to start the process, step 2 involves opening an account with a body called the CGFNS. Now, this is a council that the US established to look into the issues of foreign trained nurses, because the USA is a huge country. It's almost a continent by itself, consisting of 52 states. And it has a population of around 330 million people. And all these people need healthcare. The shortage of nurses in the US right now is at a critical point. Hospitals need nurses almost in every corner. So they established a body called the CGFNS, which checks the qualifications of nurses who have not trained outside the USA. So what this body does is that they check whether your education matches the education standards of the USA, and whether you are a registered nurse, and whether indeed you went to school. So they have information from all nursing schools in the world. Here in Kenya, for example, no matter the nursing school you trained in, you will find that CGFNS has a database that contains information about all the nursing schools and the people who sign certificates, and also information about the Nursing Council and the information about licenses that Nursing Council gives. So you have to open an account with this body called the CGFNS. And when you open an account, they will give you 2 forms. Majorly, there are 2 forms. One form you will take to your school, the other form you will take to NCK. Now, to open an account with the CGFNS today, you need to pay for the processing of a report called CES report. That is a credential evaluation report, and that is the report that will say you are a registered nurse in Kenya, for example, and you completed a diploma in this particular KMTC or a degree in this particular KMTC, and they recommend that you fit to be registered in the USA. So you need to pay them an amount of money equivalent to Kenya shillings 43,290. In terms of dollars, that's around $390. So when you get the forms, you will download the forms from their website, that is from your account, which you will create. Then you take the forms to NCK. You will have to pay NCK 12,000 shillings to verify your license. That is if you are verifying 1 license. So when you are verifying 1 license with NCK, you will pay 12,000. If you are verifying 2 licenses, you will add 5,000. So for every license, you are going to add 5,000 with the NCK. For the school, quite a number of universities charge 5,000 to verify your certificate. I understand some medical training colleges charge 2,000, but you'll find that NCK sends the document directly to the CGFNS. the schools may not send the document directly to the CGFNS, so you may require to do it by yourself. And if you have to send those documents via courier, maybe FedEx or UPS, you will need to check around not less than 4,800, around there. So this process of doing this will take about 3 weeks. Then when you send your documents to the CGFNS, you will have around 12 weeks, around 3 months for them to give you a report. But if you need your report urgently, you can pay $270. That's around maybe 30,000 Kenyan shillings to have an expedited review, which takes around 10 days, 10 working days, and you get your report. So now, step 3 comes when you get your CES report from the CGFNS. And what happens is that when the CGFNS generates your report, you should have already applied with a board of nursing. As Angeline was saying, in the US, every state has a board of nursing. Maybe, for example, in Kenya, we can say the equivalent of Nursing Council of Kenya. So if I may give an example of Texas, for example, we have a Texas Board of Nursing. So if you want to be a registered nurse in Texas, you will go to the Texas Board of Nursing. There is a portal online, you open an account, and through that account, the board will receive your CES report from the CGFNS. So the board will not be verifying your documents, but they will receive a report from the CGFNS. And after receiving your report from the CGFNS, they will now issue you, it's a kind of a document called the ATT. In full, it's authorization to test. Now, to open an account with a board, it costs around $100. And that's the processing fee for them to issue you the ATT. That's the authorization to test. And most of this work will be done online. However, you may find that the board may require you to send your fingerprints because they will be collecting a lot of information about you, and they will be building a profile because you are going to join their register. So they may require you to get fingerprints with the CID or the police, which you are going to get a physical form, download a physical form from an organization called IdentGo. Then you go to the CID or the police, you get your fingerprints, and then you mail them to the board. That again is going to cost you around 5,000 shillings. So the board process is going to cost you around maybe 17,000 shillings if you combine the $100 for the board, and also around 5,000 for sending your fingerprints to the board. Now, that's step 3, applying with the board. However, I need to say that these steps may not follow the way I am talking about them, because the moment you apply with the CGFNS and you're continuing with the process, you can start your application with the board. You don't have to wait for the CES report. You can start your application for the board so that whatever documents the board needs already, you can supply them and wait for the CGFNS to finalize the report and send. Again, let me go back to step 2. When you have received the information and you have decided that you are going to register to become a registered nurse in the US, then at this point, you need to start NCLEX revision. So you cannot wait for the CES report to start the NCLEX revision. And you find that currently, we have so many nurses from Kenya who are already practicing in the US. So probably in your class, you already have a nurse who is practicing in the in the US. So this tells you that there is a high probability that your report from the CGFNS will be positive. It means that maybe you will not need to add more education. So if you expect that your report will be positive, judging on those who have gone before you, then you should already start the NCLEX revision process. And the reason why you should start the NCLEX revision process as early as possible is because NCLEX is a very comprehensive exam. It is regarded as a tough exam because the testing level is high. So you need to revisit the entire nursing curriculum from first year all the way to that of 4th year. And that is why the moment you apply with the CGFNS, even as you download your forms to take them to school or to the nursing council, you really need to start the NCLEX revision process. So let's go to step 4. And step 4, you have already received your CES report from the CGFNS. Then the CGFNS has already given the Board of Nursing where you have applied your CES report. And the Board of Nursing issues you a document called the ATT, Authorization to Test. So now when you receive the authorization to test, you will be required to register with a body called Pearson VUE. Some people want to call it Pearson VUE. So in Pearson VUE is the contracted body by the NCSBN. NCSBN is the National Council of State Boards of Nursing. All the boards have come together to form a board called the NCSBN. And this is the body that is entitled, that is mandated to organize the NCLEX and to test people to get them registered. Now, the NCSBN has contracted another organization called Pearson VUE. So you will have to create an account with Pearson VUE, because through Pearson VUE, you are going to take your NCLEX. Now, with Pearson VUE, they will need your ATT, authorization to test. And for them to process now your exam, you will need to pay $200. In some cases, you may need international scheduling. And if you need international scheduling with Pearson VUE, you may need to pay an additional $150. But this mostly applies to people who want to go to the test center, Pearson VUE's test center, to do the scheduling of the exam, because you can schedule your exam in different centers in the world. In our case, in many cases, people just make a call to the Pearson VUE and ask them to schedule the exam in a particular center, or you can go online and schedule your exam. And in such a case, you will not be required to part with the extra, extra money that is needed for the scheduling. That is the $150. Now, after scheduling your exam, now you have, maybe you organize a leave. If you're working, of course, most of the people who take NCLEX are working. So you organize a leave. I advise people to have the minimum of around 2 weeks, because the nearest center right now for someone who is in Kenya is in South Africa. Others, of course, may prefer to go to test in India. We have people who have also gone to test in London. They have their ways of maneuvering. Maybe they have visas for London, but majority of the people from Kenya, Nigeria, and quite a number of countries in Africa will go to test in South Africa. So since you will need to travel there a day before your exam, you need a leave. Some people may take 1 week, but I usually advise around 2 weeks, because you also need to revise and recapture a lot of information before you take your NCLEX. So you need to prepare adequately, arrive at the test center, town before the day or a day before your exam, and of course 30 minutes before your exam. I usually advise people, when you go to South Africa to test, the day you arrive in South Africa, maybe your exam is scheduled for tomorrow. Just ensure that you know where the test center is and the means that you will use to go to the test center, even if you will walk. So you just go take your exam. And when you take your exam, you pass your exam because you have been preparing for the exam. The NCLEX exam is scheduled to take 5 hours right now. That is after COVID, there was a review. But the minimum number of questions you have to do, the maximum number of questions is 145 with 15 based for research. So the minimum number of questions you can do is 75 questions. So the computer may shut once you have done 75 questions, because the computer has made a decision whether you have passed or you have failed the exam. So you will have a whole 5 hours. That will depend on how you answer those questions. But of course, someone's exam is very different from another person's exam. So when you do the exam and you pass the NCLEX exam, the next phase now starts. And the next phase is immigration. For you to qualify for immigration, you have already done the NCLEX exam. Now you need to take the English proficiency exam. And for the purpose of immigration into the US, the accepted exam is IELTS, International English Language Testing System. And you have to score a band 6.5 overall and a 7 minimum in speaking. Now, this exam costs around $262 with the British Council. That's around 29,000 Kenya shillings. And then after taking the IELTS, then you go to step 7, whereby you file for visa screen. Again, you come back to the CGFNS, you file for visa screen. That's the immigration process, which mostly will be done by your sponsor. And this will cost you around $590. And then this will allow you to get a visa screen certificate. From there, your immigration process will continue. Your attorney, maybe through your sponsor, will file for you a petition called the I-140 petition. That will take around 2 weeks. And then from there, you will be given a form called DS-260 to fill. Of course, now you'll be filling this one with all the dependents that you want to be included in the visa. And then after filling the DS-260, then you are going to get the case complete, stage called CC, case complete. Then you do the vaccinations. Of course, at the same time, you will be continuing with interviews with your employers, with the various employers, maybe so that one can select you. And then when the visa issued, we will be ready to move to the USA. So maybe I can talk about briefly about the kind of visa you are going to get. This is EB3 visa, employment-based visa, which allows you to get, it's a kind of a green card, allows you to move permanently to the US and to be able to work, your spouse to be able to work, and almost all the benefits of a US citizen. You will also get a social security number. And of course, without forgetting to tell you that you will have to pay taxes. It has benefits. We talked about this in the very first webinar. You can go to our YouTube channel and check the introduction webinar. But at this juncture, I want to say what we do at Passport Global Consultants. So as far as the US process is concerned, we have various services that we offer. One type of service that we offer is that we give people information, and we do give information for free. However, there are those who require us to give them information, and they want to pay us to give them information because they want to analyze their situation. So in such a case, people do book with us, maybe a physical meeting or a Zoom meeting, and we help them to analyze the situation. They ask us the kind of questions they have, and we answer them, and they're able to make an informed decision. So it's our core business to offer information to nurses. Secondly, we also help with CGFNS applications. We guide people, and board of nursing applications. These boards are different. You find that there are some, for example, in terms of results, there are some that will give you a result immediately. Others will give you results after 24 hours. Others will give you, and various other differences between the boards. So we help to give that such kind of information. So we also train for IELTS. When you get to step 6 and you want to do your IELTS, you can come to us and help you to do the IELTS for your visa screen to be able to migrate to the US. Now, one of the main services that we offer is NCLEX RN revision. And our NCLEX RN revision is tailored to give you a very comprehensive review of the syllabus, nursing syllabus, the entire nursing syllabus, to ensure that you ace the exam, because NCLEX is quite demanding, and you really have to be very serious in the process. And what we do in our NCLEX program is that we do Zoom calls, we do Zoom meetings, we present. Tutors are going to present topics to you. You're going to be given assignments, and you're also going to be given materials to read, and you're also going to be given exams to do, just to test your various topics with you, because if we don't do that, then we may not be able to increase the chances of you passing the exam. So we do offer materials for revision, but we also advise people on the supplementary materials they need to buy, because you'll find that some of the question banks are easier than others, or you may find that some people understand some question banks better than others. So according to the assessment we do for you, we advise you the best materials you are going to buy, so that you can also, you can pass the exam. In some cases, for those who want, we also help people in terms of going to South Africa to test, doing the logistics, because we have people have passed through us who have gone there. We have contacts even for accommodation and taxis. And we do help people. If you want such kind of help, you can come to us and we can help you. Again, even to think about the cheaper places for accommodation, which are near the test center and are safe. We also help people with such kind of information. Coming back to pathway 3, those people who maybe you have nothing that is tying you in Kenya, like a marriage, for example, and you don't want to wait for the process, your NCLEX process while you're here in Kenya, and you also want to add to your education, you want to learn. We also advise people and help them to apply for education programs in the USA, including if you want to apply for loans from organizations. We also do help with that. And when you go to the USA, you can complete your NCLEX process while on the other side. So you can always get our contacts. I shared them on chat. Our website is called Passcode Global Consultants. We are also on Facebook. You can like our page. It's called Passcode Global Consultants. And we're also in Instagram. Our YouTube channel is Passcode Nursing and IELTS. We always, for example, after this webinar, we do some edits, just a little edits on the video, and we will upload it for those who, because many people have missed, we have not been able to admit everyone. So you can go back there and get the information. Also our line, our contacts are always available in case you want to consult on something. Sometimes I also say, if you just want us to have a chat, we are very flexible, and it's my joy to see nurses empowered. So if you pass by just to say hi, we always welcome you. So thank you very much, Donald. That's what I had to say. I will be available to respond to questions as asked.
Thank you very much, Nurse Humphrey, for the deep and insightful presentation. We are really glad that you are finding time to share this with us free of charge. You, at a personal capacity, and also as the CEO for Passcode Global Consultants. Now, before we go to the Q&A, I would just like to call upon Nurse Angeline again. Now, Nurse Angeline, tell us about USA. How do you find USA as a nurse? Do you enjoy working? Are there any threats that you might want to warn us earlier? What are the challenges you faced so far? How do you compare you working as a nurse in the USA and compare it while you are working as a nurse in KNH? Just briefly.
Hello, yeah. Thank you for that question. Nursing in the US is more intellectual. It's the nursing process. It's not manual, it's not physical, it's not about task. It's about coordinating care for patients. You have to call the doctor to report critical values and tell them what you want back. You get orders and implement them. It's not like in Kenya where the doctor is on the ground and is able to review the patient and give you what to do. In the US, you have to do your physical examination, you have to look at the labs, you have to assess your patient, know their needs, and tell the doctor what you would like done for the patient. So that's really different, because here they have like nursing assistants, they do the vital signs, they feed the patient, they turn the patient. So like your work is the nursing process, assessing the patient, diagnosing and implementing whatever is supposed to be done. So that's quite different. And the patients in the US, they are informed. They know what they want while they are in the hospital. So you have to be, you have to read more and widely. You have to know the diagnosis, what you're doing for them. You have to tell them everything you're doing. I'm giving you this pill because your blood pressure is this much and this is how it works. So in Kenya, we used to doing things and not informing the patient. So it's very different here. You have to, if you touch it, talk about it, like why you're doing this for the patient. So that's quite different and demanding for me, but I'm coping and I'm learning to talk to them. So That's the major difference. And that you will start acquiring when you are preparing for NCLEX, because those are the questions you'll be asked, how to you prioritize what to do as a nurse. So you'll get used to this stuff.
Nice, thank you very much. I already feel encouraged to begin my preparation for this journey. Now, what are the challenges you faced so far? And what is the cost of living? Probably that those of us who are already asking what's the cost of living, and what are the challenges you faced so far, or what were the challenges you faced while settling in?
Culture shock. The foods they eat, they're very different. The way they talk, I couldn't hear anything the first time I was speaking to them. Even on phone, it's worse. So I had to start like re-watching and looking at them and, you know, trying to understand what they are saying and telling them, please slow down, speak word for word so that I can understand you. So then they learn that, oh, sorry, we need to speak more slowly. So yes, culture shock is the first thing you experience. Another thing, you didn't expect the bills to be that high. You know, you're paying your house rent at $1,200. When you convert to Kenyan shillings, you're like, I'll go back home. So when you make money in the US, you spend money. It's like someone is stealing the money from your pocket. Like they pay every 2 weeks, yes, but one paycheck is for the bills, like everything. So your bills could be somewhere around $2,500. But the good thing is nurses are paid well. And so the first 2 weeks you can pay all your bills, then the next 2 weeks you can save. That's the good thing. So you get a lot of money, but you can also spend a lot of money. The bills, the taxes, they are quite high. What else? Another challenge is being different. You know, you're Black. In my ward, like I'm the only Black nurse there. So yeah, it's a challenge, but they are kind people. They get to help you like get used to the hospital. Because another big difference, they are so advanced in technology. My goodness, we used to do paper chatting. No papers in the US, you know. You have to learn how to chat on the computer, how to remove meds from the pixies. Like you log in, you put your fingerprint, you know, you put your finger there, and then the pixies opens for you to get meds. You know, that's quite different. If you're sending something to the lab, you send through the tube system. Like you put the sample there, it takes itself to the lab. You know what I mean? So the first few weeks are challenging because you don't understand how they do it here. Another big challenge, driving. There's no public transport. You have to drive to work. Everyone drives. You have to keep right. We are keeping left in Kenya. My goodness, I would find myself keeping left and everyone is hooting, but you get to learn. So here, driving is not a luxury. It's like a basic need. Yeah, basically those ones. So that's why I say when you come over here, it's good that you find someone that has gone through that. Sometimes you want to board the aircraft back home, but it's not worth it. But those are the challenges, but they are learning experiences and I'm coping. So you need, when you come here, especially with family, that really helps. You come home and shout and cry and then go back to work.
Wow, that's quite an experience. And, we are proud of you that you really managed through. So dear colleagues, we are going to go to the Q&A questions today because for the sake of time. And I'm looking into the chat box for the questions. And this first question we directed to Nurse Humphrey. Lydia is asking, tell us something about NCLEX and IELTS exams for those of us who are preparing for the exams. And then And then the second question that I would like you to handle too, somebody is asking, Lydia is also asking, if there's anyone who is scheduled for NCLEX exam for July, you can form a study group. Oh, that's very beautiful. If there's anyone who is preparing for the exams, kindly please find yourselves in the chat box together and see how you can work it out to support each other. So the first question goes to Nas Humphrey. Can you tell us more about the NCLEX exams and IELTS, especially for those ones who are currently preparing? And as you answer that one, probably Nas Angeline will be preparing to answer us on that. Is it an at least 200 bed capacity in an acute care hospital? Is it still a mandatory? Is it a mandatory that you should have worked in a 200 bed capacity acute care hospital? And as you answer that one, there's also another question. What is the nurse patient ratio for nurses working in the US? Thank you. So Nurse Humphrey?
All right, thank you, Donald, for those questions. First of all, before I answer the questions, I need to make an announcement. I think there's someone who is asking people to send their details so that they can be added to the meeting. If you are already in the meeting, please, you don't need to send your details to anyone. In our organization, we don't go to people's inboxes to ask them to send us their information. We only wait for customers to ask, to call our number and make inquiries. So please don't share with your information with someone who is not certified. There is no one from our organization or from any of our partners who is asking people to send their details. So please be aware of that. I've been asked to talk about NCLEX and the IELTS preparation. So these processes, I've gone through them. I've also gone through the processes of, preparing people for these two exams. And what I can say is that if you want to go practice in the USA, you need to first of all think about the NCLEX and first forget about the IELTS. The reason I'm saying that this is because IELTS should not bother you if you have not passed the NCLEX. And people also need to know that IELTS expires after 2 years. Angeline said a process took 3 years because it was affected by COVID-19. She's not alone. There are many who are affected, and some of them actually had the IELTS expiring. So what this tells you is that you should not take IELTS before you take your NCLEX. But of course, if you have already done that, there's no problem. You can take your NCLEX pass and your IELTS will be used if it will not have expired. If it will have expired, you may be required to take it again. Even before COVID, there are people who could still take more than 2 years. That means if someone started by taking their IELTS exam, it could expire before you go. Because what happens with the US process is that the process for each person is very different. Because sometimes you can find that you are ready to move to the US. Maybe a new member of the family comes, so you're required to stay a bit longer. You wanted to take an NCLEX, maybe something comes up that may prevent you for some time. So the first exam you need to start with is the NCLEX exam. So how do you prepare for the NCLEX exam? Now, there are various ways of preparing for the NCLEX exam. And you will find that we have various groups of people here. There are people who are preparing for the exam by themselves, and there are people who are preparing for the exams through an agency. So some agencies will give you a lot of materials, different kinds of materials that will not exhaust. Others will give you a few types of materials, then you have to look for additional materials. If you are preparing for yourself by yourself, you have to look for materials. And this is what I usually advise. First of all, you need to look for a material that is a textbook that will enable you to revise the content for the NCLEX, the nursing content. Because some people say that NCLEX is not a knowledge exam. In fact, even some trainers, you will hear them say that NCLEX is not a knowledge exam. It is a critical thinking exam. because you have to look at the question and apply a lot of critical thinking to answer the exam. But for me, I usually believe in knowledge. The reason is because even if it's not a knowledge exam, you need to have the knowledge to borrow from the knowledge you have to make a decision on what is the correct answer. So you need to look for a book. I've seen many people use Saunders. Saunders is very extensive, very, very extensive. I've seen people use it. I've used it several myself in teaching, even when I was doing my NCLEX exam. And it has a lot of information, simplified information. I'm not campaigning for them because they did not send me, but it's just an example that I am giving for content. Also, you'll find that Saunders has NCLEX style questions. So what people also need to know is that the question banks you will get online and those that you will buy, those are not NCLEX questions. They are NCLEX style questions, NCLEX-like questions. So some question banks are harder than the NCLEX. Others are easier than the NCLEX. So it is important to revise using various NCLEX question banks. Again, after now you have made sure that you have a book which you will be using for your content. Now ensure that you have a book which you will be using for your revision in terms of questions that resemble the NCLEX. Because the mode of revision is you read the content. Maybe, for example, you choose a topic. You want to read about the gastrointestinal system. So after reading the content about the gastrointestinal system, now go to the question banks and look for many questions that deal with the GIT and try to answer them using the content that you learned. Now, the content is a lot in nursing and you may not exhaust everything. You have to go to work. You are tired. Some of us have families. Your kid is disturbing there. So another way and another strategy that becomes good when you are preparing for the NCLEX is to use YouTube. There are various YouTubers who vlog about NCLEX, and some of them have very nice videos on particular topics, on strategies, on anything to do with the NCLEX. So when you are reading about the GIT, for example, and you are so tired, your mind has blocked, but that's the only time you have, and you have goals to meet, then you can go to YouTube and supplement what you have learned in the book with the YouTube. Again, since the content is a lot, you need to make use of every moment that you have. If you go to work by a mat, for example, a matatu, you can, most of you have smartphones. So have those materials in your smartphone. Every moment you find, even if you are at work, you can hide yourself somewhere when you don't have, during the break, and go through the content, try to pass through the content, internalize everything, because NCLEX involves a lot of reading. Then, lastly, do not depend only on the freely available material. If you find that you need to buy a question bank, buy a question bank, because some of the question banks cost around 15,000 Kenya shillings, and you will have it maybe for like 2 or 3 months. There's the others that cost as low as 5,000 Kenya shillings, even I think 6,000 Kenya shillings, and they are the quality is very high. So you can buy a question bank because a question bank will allow you to revise systematically. You can choose questions depending on a particular category. For example, you can choose SATAs, you can filter, choose SATAs and do SATAs. You can choose questions based on a particular topic and do that particular question alone. So spending some of your money, part of your money to buy a question bank will never go to waste. Lastly, of course I said lastly, but now this is the very last, ensure that you revise. If there are some of the trainers who do live Facebook sessions to teach, go to those live Facebook sessions and listen to what they are saying. Even those who are doing live YouTube, go there and listen and participate. If you can join a group, if you are a group person, the better. Others are not group people. They like doing it by themselves, the better. If you are doing it by yourself, or even you are doing it by an agency, because the agency may not be there to answer all your questions, you can have a mentor, someone who is ready to work with you. Even if you find someone you can pay something little to be able to help you in the process, it's better, because when you are stuck or you have a question where you need elaboration, or maybe a topic where you need more elaboration, then you will go back to that person and seek information from them. There's a lot I can say about the NCLEX, but because of time, let me say that just that. Now, IELTS. If you're doing the US process, you will worry about the IELTS after passing the NCLEX. Don't disturb you with the IELTS before you pass the NCLEX. Pass the NCLEX, celebrate in 1 or 2 weeks, then start the IELTS. IELTS is not as extensive as the NCLEX. The syllabus for the IELTS is shorter. There's not so much to learn in IELTS. What you need are just the skills to be able to respond to the questions or to the, to the questions that you'll be given in the exam. You can use, for the NCLEX, you can use minimum 3 months, but that you need to have a lot of time. Most people will use around 4, 5, 6 months to revise for the NCLEX. But for the IELTS, if you have time, you can use even 2 weeks. There are people who can use even 2 weeks to revise for the IELTS and go and pass it. Most of the people will take 4 weeks, that's 1 month, to revise for the IELTS and pass it. But of course, for the IELTS, not revising, it's not a matter of revising, because that is not a syllabus you have done, it's a new syllabus to you. So if you can afford a trainer for the IELTS, it will be a bit easier for you. If you dedicate just 2 hours in a day, even a month is enough for you to revise for the IELTS. So again, for the IELTS, you need the right materials. You need to know the structure so that you don't waste a lot of your time repeating things, and sometimes not focusing on some of the things that matter. So if you can get a trainer, the better, because a trainer is just going to guide you on what is required. You focus on what is required, go do the exam, and you'll pass the exam. So shortly, Donna, that's what I can say.
Thank you very much, Nasamfri. Thank you for elaborating on that. I see some of the questions that were directed to Nas Angeline Nas Angeline has tried so much to answer them in the chat box. And probably I'll just take maybe 2 more questions as you sip water, so that we are able to finish. I'll have 1 question for Nas Angeline, and then the rest will be able to handle them. Somebody is asking, that is Osoro Valerie, could you please get someone to tell us about nursing in Germany and relocation process? I think we'll be able to look into that when we retract back into planning for our next meetings. So Valerie, just hold it there. You may never know what's coming up next week. And then now, Nasamfri, this is what the question that has attracted my eyes. People are asking, how much does global passport consultants, passport global consultants charge for revision of NCLEX and IELTS? And then somebody else is asking, if you are a nurse, you intend to go to US through UK, because there are those ones who have used that pathway. Is there a way that passport comes in preparing you as a nurse? So probably those 2 questions. Then when we answer those ones, we'll be good to go.
Okay. Yes. Let me start with our charges for the IELTS program. Our IELTS program is in 2 dimensions. First, we have the physical classes, which you can do in Nairobi town, Nairobi City Center. We are located at Mamangina Street, a building called Jubilee Insurance Exchange House. And you can also access it through through Kaunda Street, just near Hilton Hotel. And it's a very conducive environment for learning. So we do offer face-to-face teaching, and that costs 12,000 Kenyan shillings. We also have an online class, and that costs 10,000 Kenyan shillings. And you can take that one from wherever you are. Our times are flexible. We schedule our packages depending on people's availability. But of course, we have a common class in the evenings. when majority of the people are available, but you find that most of the people we are dealing with are working, so their schedules are very different. So we usually, sometimes we combine physical, Zoom and WhatsApp, just to ensure someone passes the exam. So even if you come to us and tell us you are available only 1 day in a week, or even 2 days in a week, we try to come up with a package that will help enable you to have continuous learning so that you can pass that exam. Even if you are doing an online exam, we encourage you to look for a day to come to our center. If you're not very far from Nairobi, you just come do a mock, which resembles what you will do in the center. I mean, maybe in the British Council or IDP when you go to do the exam. Also, I need to say that apart from the training, we also offer mock services. You can come to our office and do mocks. Just yesterday, I received the results from a student who came to us just to do mocks. And she had a 6 in reading, and I was very happy because we corrected it and made some adjustments, and she got an 8.5. That was a very, very big, very high score. So usually advise people, if you are doing self-training for IELTS, you can look for a center. You can come to us and we do a mock just for a small fee. We charge 4,000 for the mocks. And that involves giving you the exams. You do the exams, then we review each exam with you. That is, we review the reading, we review the speaking, we review the listening, and we review the writing. And sometimes from there, we can, if we realize you have a weakness in an area, we'll continue doing classes for you until we ensure that you come to a place where you're able to pass your exam. Now, coming back to the NCLEX process, the NCLEX revision is a tricky one, because we have tutors who have to teach people. We started NCLEX revision classes with an introductory price of 15,000 Kenya shillings, but we realized that it was quite low because we needed to appreciate our tutors. It's actually not a matter of paying them, because the kind of content they are giving, it's really very hard to be able to pay them. Because someone who has passed NCLEX and they are teaching NCLEX, that's a US registered nurse. They are looking at very big monies in terms of dollars in the US. So for now, we have a comprehensive NCLEX revision program, which takes around 4 months, and we charge 30,000 for that program. We do allow people to pay in installments. That's around 20,000 for the first installment. I mean 3 months, 10,000 per month. And for that, we are able to appreciate our tutors and also to be able to buy the materials that are needed for the NCLEX. Because as I said, in our NCLEX revision process, we provide people with materials, and we also advise people which materials you are going to buy. Now, the next question was about the UK pathway. Yes, this is a pathway that people are utilizing, and it's also a very important pathway, because you realize that for someone who doesn't have many ties here in Kenya, for example, many things tying you, you may want to go to the UK, because it's quite easy to go to the UK right now, maybe through the government program or through an independent application, as we saw the other day. You take around 4 months. If you have done IELTS, you take around even 3 months to transition to go to the UK. And if your final destination is the US, you can continue with the NCLEX process when you are in the UK. So someone asked, how does our organization come in? Our organization comes in to do everything you need us to do for you. For example, we'll assist you with information. We'll assist you with the CGFNS application. We will do that for you. Board application, we will do that for you. When it comes to revision, we will do that for you. We'll help you with the revision. We'll guide you with the revision. Even if you want us to link you with an employer, we will do that for you. So even if you are in the UK or in, by the way, Passport Global Consultants is not meant for Kenyan nurses only. It's only doing this, some of these things that you see for Kenyans, because Kenya is the home ground for the Passport. But Passport Global Consultants, even the name itself is global. So Our thinking is global, our aim is global. We are looking at the world as home to everyone, and we are looking at the world as a global village. So even if you are in the UK, you can access our services. Yeah. In fact, for IELTS, we have clients as far as Saudi Arabia. You realize that Asians are moving to Europe and to the US a lot, and they're looking for these services. So we can provide those services even for those who are going to the UK. And actually, we have some of our nurses who have come here, done IELTS, passed. Some of them have gone to the UK, and some have already told us that they would like to continue with the US program, and we'll be ready to work with them in the process. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nas Humphrey. I would like to release Nas Angeline because she's still going back to her shift. So Nas Angeline, if you're still there, would you like to bid us goodbye as we release you, even as we come to the close of this meeting? Probably you can give us your call to action.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining. Information is power. Thank you, Humphrey and Don, for hosting this. And feel free to reach out to those who are ahead. They'll help you with the information. And yes, if you want something, you go for it. It's not easy, but it's worth it. I'm going for night shift, so let me have some rest. It's almost like 12 here in the US, and I'm going at 6 p.m. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you very much.
Good night. Good night, Pedro.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And you have a good night. We wish you well, and thank you for being here. Meanwhile, I don't think we have any other question that is remaining in the chat box. Again, we are sorry for the mishap that we had earlier during the meeting. We are glad that we were able to handle it. And I'm sorry for anyone that has been held in the waiting room for long. We had to take caution. But at this juncture, I feel like we've come to the close of today's session.
Can I say something before we end, please?
Yes, please, sir. Come in, please, with your, and then also you can sum it up with your call to action.
All right, thank you. I need to say this, that next week we are going to have a big meeting. We are going to be summing up this series about going abroad, and I really would like people to come to that meeting. We have nurses from the UK. We also have USRNs in the house, and they will be sharing their experiences with IELTS. They will be expounding. Some of them have done self-training for IELTS, others have used a trainer. And someone who will be a speaker has done the self-sponsored NCLEX program, whereby they sponsored themselves and passed the exam without an agency. And they will be sharing their journey of going to the US. So I am really asking people to come in as early as possible. Now, on to my call to action. I need to tell us as nurses, this time is very, very ripe. If you talk to some people who have no jobs here in Kenya, they will tell you, if I did nothing, I wouldn't be jobless. The truth of the matter is that if you are a nurse, you want a job in Kenya, you will get it, but the pay, you may not be very happy with it. Someone else who is not a nurse, they may want a job, even a job that pays meagerly, but they may not get that job. So what you are sitting on there is a certificate that can take you very, very far. The world has really opened for nurses. If you want to look east, you will get a job. If you want to look west, you will get a job. If you want to go to Europe, you go to USA, you will get a job. You want to go to Qatar, Dubai, you will get a job. So I would like to ask nurses, get information, make your decision, and conquer the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wairima, if you're there, would you kindly please give us a call to action?
I don't really have a call to action, but I would encourage all of us to meet next weekend, and we kindly add our official names to the username so that it will be easier to let people in. Yes, that's it for now. Then we'll be looking at what other series to introduce after this one. So people should all come to Patane hapo, and then we'll make plans from there. Good night.
Good night. Asante sana. So again, if you need the recording of this meeting, I've shared my contacts in the chat box. You can email me or WhatsApp me. Please kindly WhatsApp only. You can WhatsApp or email me. If you have any other question or you have a suggestion of a topic that should be handled in our next meetings, you can still email me or email Passport Global Consultants or WhatsApp me. It will be handled. Meanwhile, thank you all very much for attending today's meeting, and I look forward to seeing you next week.